Alright, as we can see, there's still water sitting in the main room of the basement. And nothing has been cleaned up. You can still see the swirls of sludge on the basement floor. The bar is still submerged in water. And the floor has buckled everywhere. You can see that. Follow around. It's buckled over here. And tiles are loose everywhere, which means there's water and mildew under all the floor tiles. If you walk up over here behind the bar, you will see that the bar is still submerged in water almost a month after it rained. And the wood is soaking up all that water and is all dark and funky. I'm sure it's mold and mildew. You can see all of that. And back out, we go back to the room. Walk around over here. And you will see that there is now all kinds of black mold growing on the wall. That was not here before. This whole wall. Cut this light a little more. There we go. There. You can see the mold a little better now. There's mold specks all over the floor. They're all over the wall. Alright, if we go in the other room, over by the furnace, you can see that there's still water dripping down the wall. Dripping down the wall. Going into the drain and also running off to the other drain. You can see that. See that water there all along the wall. It's wet and there's little black mold spores everywhere there too. It's probably still leaking from the ceiling when it filled up with water. And if you can see, the ceiling is bowed. It's really bowed right here. This is bowed way down. There's like a droop. And if you notice, all this paint is peeling because of the moisture sitting up in there. So this whole ceiling piece is probably just filled with water. If you look at this way, maybe you can see the little slope in the ceiling there. You know, you can see the dip in the ceiling. That's all. This is filled with water. And as you can see, no debris has been cleaned up in this room. The floor tiles have popped and are pretty nasty. If you look in the furnace room, you see no sludge or anything was cleaned up in this room either. And now let's go to the laundry room. The laundry room, same thing. You can still see sludge remnants on the floor in the entire room around the drain. So there's been absolutely no cleanup done to this basement whatsoever to remediate the water damage, and now there's mold growing. I just moved this dehumidifier from the main room where the fireplace is over here because I believe it's contributing to the water that's laying on the floor in the other room. If you look, this particular dehumidifier that whoever brought over, it has a hose outlet, but there's no hose. So the water is just dripping out of the back and onto the floor. Well, this was sitting in the middle of the other room, so it kind of defeats the purpose. As it's pulling water out of the air, it's just dropping it right back in the middle of the floor, and that's probably why the floor in the bar area are still flooded. So I moved it to this room, and I put it as close to the drain as I possibly can, and now at least the water dripping out of the dehumidifier is at least running to the drain and not flooding the floor further. And then the other room here in the basement that has not been cleaned or remediated is the pantry room. If you see in the pantry room, all along the base of the wall and the floor, it's still wet. The beams are still wet, the studs, the drywall plaster is still wet and getting dark, probably from mold, all the way around the perimeter of the room. All the way, that's all wet. And again, there's still staining on the floor with sludge and rust and whatever else. Nothing has been cleaned. Now there's one other area that is also wet that's going to need to be fixed. It's over here behind the stairs in this little pantry closet. If you look, on both sides there's still sludge. Both sides the plaster or drywall is wet, and then all the way up front, the first step and all of that wood is still soaking wet and turning black, most likely from mold. So no cleanup effort has been done in this house since the problem happened almost a month ago. It's unbelievable. Okay, I'm now walking into the furnace room, and if you see now, the side of the furnace here, this whole wall has got black mold growing on it. And even the floor's got black mold growing on it. All along here, all that darkness there, that's all new black mold growth. See? All of this. You go over to this wall here, same thing, along the bottom of the floor, black mold growth. The corner over here, same thing. Okay, we're in the living room now. We are just to the left of the fireplace, and as you can see on the wall, there's all kinds of mold growing. This is very troubling. If you look in, you'll see there's black mold. You can see where the paint is bubbled. You can see to the left of the black mold is some type of brown mold, and below that is some type of white fuzzy mold. It's hard to see on the camera, but it's got some type of fuzziness to it. And then, as you can see, the paint is bubbled all over. And it is still wet and damp to the touch.